Hello, Green Freight Asia Board of Directors. My name is Wilson. I'm here with my team members Abdi and Aaron from Viceroy Solutions. And we're very excited to be here today to talk to you about our proposed venture solution that we have proposed for you today. However, before we start, we'd like to kick things off a little bit different here. And we'd like to open the dialogue with what makes a vibrant community, what makes it healthy, and how can we all collaborate together for a greener future. So, we asked this question to ourselves yesterday, and we came up with 4 key values. They were trust, leadership, engagement, and shared values. Together, these 4 values brought together, will create what we would call a vibrant and healthy community. So, how does this all tie together? We'd like to now introduce you to Leaf, our proposed solution, which is an online B2B community designed to create a collaborative framework to explore green logistics. So now you know what a vibrant community is composed of. So why did we choose a community? What makes a community work in this situation here? Well, only through collaboration and working together are we able to work together for a more greener future and sustainability in the industry as a whole. So through collaboration, we have come up with 2 key challenges in the current industry. The first challenge is that currently small to medium-sized businesses do not have sustainability or green logistics on their business agenda, nor do they plan on taking any action in the near future. Communities help with this, as large players such as DHL, UPS, or Infineon are able to act as role models, and they're able to provide best practices and assist these smaller to medium-sized organizations, and to really show them how leading green logistics are able to give them a competitive advantage, as well as help the environment at the same time. It really is a win-to-win scenario. So together, these utilize the first 2 values of trust and leadership. The second challenge that we have here is that we have very limited data analysis capabilities at the moment, and this is especially due to the highly fragmented industry. So to give you a prime example, current trucking industries, we have 90% of the truckers as single trucks with single drivers. This makes data collection extremely hard and very hard to analyze altogether. So as a community, we're all able to come together and collaborate and bring together a shared industry standard as to what data collection needs to look like to really provide everybody with actionable insights. So this together leads to engagement and shared values as we work towards a common goal. So now I'd like to pass it on to Aaron, who will talk to you what does the LEAF program look like.
Thank you, Wilson. So our solution is comprised of 5 main components. We're going to start off with going into a little bit of depth on the the GFA label program, and then we're going to talk about our knowledge base, which we've kind of coined the term greenhouse. Then we're going to explore the concept of webinars. We're going to go into a little bit of a social component with some integration into Yammer. And then finally, we're going to touch on the reporting and analytics piece to bring everything together and to really secure that feedback piece that's really important here. So kind of diving headfirst into things, we're going to go into the GFA label program. Now we have 2 main goals here. The first of which is to really increase participation from the private sector. Now how we're hoping to achieve that is to manage the GFA members and provide industry information to those kind of key stakeholders. Now the second opportunity, or the second kind of goal that we're looking for, is to really recognize and offer incentives to members who are buying into this program. So whether they be large or small, we want to recognize key wins, and we want to celebrate those key wins and encourage them not only to get that first green leaf status, but to keep on going throughout the program so that they're reaching that second, that third, and that 4th level that really brings everything together. And how we plan on doing this is by managing the Green Free Label certification and renewal process. So we have all of these different data inputs. We need to come up with a system to bring them all together, all of these different inputs together, and actually manage all of this data that we're getting. So we'll explore that a little later on in the presentation. So the next kind of component of our solution is this greenhouse. Now I want to offer you an analogy for what this actually means. If you think of the greenhouse or the knowledge base as a library, think of all the different members of the LEAF program as all the different contributors who are actually putting books into this library. So it's actually user-generated content. We're going to harness the power of all of our different members that are contributing to this vibrant, to this dynamic online community, harness all of that power to actually create great content. And how we're actually planning on doing this is through KB Publisher. Now, KB Publisher, if you can think of, is kind of the structure that brings all of this together. So all of these different members, all these different stakeholders that are generating all of these insights will have the opportunity to share them with other members of the community, to collaborate with other members of the community through this KB Publishing tool. So moving on to the next component was webinars. And I really want to bring the conversation back to this point of engagement that Wilson talked about early on in the presentation. And that's kind of one of the 4 key values that we identified in our community. So what better way to engage with all of the different members, from large members to small members, than to host weekly or monthly webinars provided in different languages, where we would actually engage using video as a format, to actually engage with all of these different members, to share key wins, to share best practices, to share all of this information that's being aggregated, so that, again, these large companies can act as role models to these smaller companies. And we plan on facilitating this awareness and education piece through any meeting, which Abby will touch on a little bit later. So now we wanted to introduce kind of a social component into our solution as well. And we knew immediately when we did this that we can't just rely on traditional channels like Facebook, like Renren, like Twitter, that are popular. We needed to go with a solution that was more adapted to our needs. And the first need that we clearly identified when coming up with a social solution was data security. So Yammer is an enterprise social network, and it's actually completely private. So you actually have to be invited into that conversation, invited into that dialogue, before you're able to engage with other members of the community. So that was a big kind of component to us. And a really interesting fact that I want to key in on is that DHL, which is one of the major major stakeholders within this whole process, is one of Yammer's biggest users, actually. And they have several case studies about DHL. So we already have buy-in from one of our biggest user groups, which is hugely important because it's going to make it easier for other large-sized groups and medium-sized groups to buy in as well. So finally, tying all of this together, we're going to go into this reporting and analytics section as well. And our goal here is to really build those capabilities that are going to really help people harness the power of this community. We're going to provide a platform for members to generate these reports in a visual format and really gain actionable insights, as Wilson talked about, from this data. And we're planning on implementing that through Tableau software, which Abby will talk a little bit about in the system architecture.
Thank you, Aaron. So with all these elements in our solution, what we have is one online central portal where our members can easily log in to access the different applications and features we have. In this way, once a company logs in, they will be able to view the company information, their green flag label state, visual reports generated from their data, as well as insights that are actionable and that they can use to improve their processes. And at the same time, they will be able to share and export that information with the rest of the employees. In the back end, we have our applications that Aaron talked about. So we have these components of applications that are pulling information to the dashboard. And behind that is the database layer, which will collect, consolidate, and store the different information required to synthesize this. So how are we going to implement this? We're going to go through a system development lifecycle to implement all this, starting with the initiation, gathering requirement, analyzing, designing the application, and deploying it to the different platforms that we have. In the long term, what we hope to get is we expect that we will be able to implement the greenhouse, the webinars, and the Yammer. How we're going to do this is establish working groups among our members that can contribute ideas, processes, frameworks, and together we will be able to implement. So what does this mean for us? Tying all these elements together, the Green Flag Label Program, the greenhouse, which provides the knowledge, the webinars that we connect to, that will help us to connect, the Yammer that we socially help us communicate, collaborate, and the analytics that gives us the insights, we will be able to increase private sector participation and continuously improve our process to achieve efficiency, which in the long run will be able to lead to a reduction in the logistic costs in Asia, as well as reduce carbon dioxide emission. With that, I'd like to thank you for your attention and open the floor for questions.
Okay, one question here. I think one of you, the first presenter, mentioned that over 90% of your workforce in this logistics are actually one single truck,
Right.
kind of companies. So how do you incentivize these guys to hop onto this program?
Well, the incentive really here, the message we're trying to get across is that big players like DHL and UPS and Infineon or other green Bright Asia participants are able to act as role models for these smaller companies and show them that there is a benefit in joining and really starting to open the dialogue about going green and thinking about sustainability moving forward. Other incentives, of course, include the Green Label program, where you're able to have a ranking based on 4 leaves. And what that allows you to do is gain reputation throughout the industry to your consumers and be recognized within the Asia Pacific region.
I think one of the concerns for those who want to participate in this scheme is data security, right? Because there are a lot of price-sensitive information that they are supposed to volunteer into this community. So how do you provide that assurance, or how do you ensure that data don't get leaked out, into the public domain or being accessed by the competitors?
Very good question. So what we have here is a data sensitivity framework. In that, we will be able to, so we have levels of data sensitivity. So the top one, the tier top one, is a very confidential, all the way to the bottom, which is public information. So the company will be able to decide on the level of information that they would like to share at what stage. So the first one, like for example, the level 1 would be company data that will be accessible only to the company that provided. The second stage is the company information that is submitted for the certification process. This will be available to the company as well as the GFA team that's managing the certification process. The third one is an aggregated data that shows the company level stage, like in terms of year, country. This will be available to the members and the company and the GFA as well. The last piece which is a high level GFA label stage that will be accessible to the public, and this will be like the certification level. Is it level 1 or 2 or 3? So in that way, we will the members will be able to control what information they share at what stage, whether it is confidential all the way to the public.
Okay.
One question from me. As you know, Bright Asia is not a for-profit company. So one of the key concerns we have is how we can generate revenue and make this self-sustaining. So what is your revenue model that you can propose?
Sure. So we have several revenue sources here that we've outlined, and the first of which is member fees. Fees that are already being collected by Green Bright Asia. And the revenue from there ranges from 0 to 10,000. So we've estimated that to be about $1,000 per member, and by the end of the year, you would like to have 200 members. That's the goal. Other revenue sources, however, we've talked about our greenhouse, which is the knowledge base. This is where companies are able to share research information and provide best practices with other organizations for a common goal. So that extra service is something that you're able to tack on a premium service fee for. We estimate perhaps about 50 users might be interested within the first year, and at a cost of $99 per month. Advanced analytics and reporting tools, which are immensely important to any organization to gain insights into how they can improve their organization, are other ways that you can improve your revenue sources, as well as other donations and sponsorships from organizations, if there are any that are to close the gap between revenues and costs.
Okay. I happen to see one of your slides on the ownership structure.
Sure.
So maybe could you go to that in your appendix? So how does this work, like 51, 49? Any particular reason why?
So we wanted to concentrate the equity with Green Bright Asia so that you still have the largest kind of role in this. So it's a 51 to 49% equity distribution of non-voting shares. Now that's very important. That it's just these are revenue-producing shares. What we're actually recommending too is that you restructure your board of directors as well to incorporate one member from our team in and then give them voting power. So you will ultimately still have the power for voting, but there will be a representative from our team as well within that board structure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for sharing.